When you were a kid, did you ever wake up Christmas morning so excited to open your presents and then all you got were socks? That's kind of what week one felt like, right? Starting with that Thursday night game, look, Jahmyr Gibbs, I could not wait to see Jahmyr Gibbs in his first start, and he looked great. He averaged 7.5 yards per touch, but barely got any touches. Clearly way behind David Montgomery, but do not panic on this guy. Don't panic, trade him after this one game. He's too talented not to rise up. He will eventually get more touches and be great this year. Jahmyr Gibbs, I loved what I saw from him, even if the fantasy results weren't there. Please, don't panic on him. Hold him. He's going to be great. As for the Chiefs, Sky Moore, a big old goose egg in a matchup where he played almost every snap. 5 other Chiefs pass catchers had more targets than Sky Moore. This is not what we wanted to see, especially with Travis Kelce not playing this night. Not looking good for the second year Sky Moore breakout. Dare I say, borderline droppable in shallower leagues. And dare I say, the Chiefs' backfield looks like a full 3-headed monster here between Isaiah Pacheco, Clyde Edwards-Helaire, and Jerick McKinnon. Sure, Pacheco had the most carries with 8, but CEH was close behind him with 6. Yes, Pacheco got a little bit involved in the passing game, but we can't count on that week to week. This looks like a full-headed committee that you want to avoid at all costs if possible. Maybe eventually Pacheco can pull away, but at the moment, definitely worried about this backfield. It really looks to me like Travis Kelce, Patrick Mahomes, the only guys we want to start in this Chiefs offense. And Kadarius Toney, let's just move on. It didn't get a whole lot better on Sunday, starting with San Francisco versus Pittsburgh. Sure, if you had Brandon Ayuk or Christian McCaffrey, you felt great. But what if you had Deebo Samuel or George Kittle? Not so great. But look, this just happened to be the Brandon Ayuk week. 2 touchdowns. He went off. There wasn't anything here for Deebo and Kittle. These guys will be fine. It won't always be the Brandon Ayuk week. Don't panic on these guys. Better days are ahead. As for the Steelers, I'm just going to say I hope you didn't start any Steelers player in this. What a terrible performance by this offense. We knew the 49ers were going to be a tough matchup, but man, this was brutal. Really all I can say is hopefully Deontay's injury isn't serious and better days have to be ahead. Tampa Bay versus Minnesota wasn't much better. I mean, Justin Jefferson did Justin Jefferson things, and Jordan Addison looked great for a rookie. And even Alexander Mattison plotted his way to a touchdown to save his day. But on the other side, it did not happen for Rachaad White. Not what I wanted to see from Rachaad White in the first start in this matchup. Yes, he was the workhorse running back. He got 17 carries. That's great. But what I didn't like from Rachaad White, only 2 catches on 32 Baker Mayfield passes. I expected many more targets from Rachaad White here. I don't know why it didn't happen. Not ready to give up on Rachaad White yet. It's only week 1. You can't give up on these guys. The volume was there. But man, not looking good for Rachaad White. This was a great matchup. Didn't happen for him. I got to say I'm mildly panicking on Rachaad White right now. And speaking of ugly, what about that Cincinnati-Cleveland game? Nick Chubb caught 4 passes on the first 2 drives and somehow finished as the number 2 receiver with only 1 less catch than Jamar Chase. T. Higgins, 0 catches on 8 targets. Joe Burrow looked like a guy who didn't play the entire preseason, but come on. It's the Bengals. It's Joey B, Jamar Chase, T. Higgins. They're going to be way better. Please, don't panic on these guys. And then on the other side, somehow Elijah Moore led all receivers with 3 catches for 43 yards. That's pretty brutal. Let's just move on here. Jacksonville versus Indianapolis. Look, Indy put up a pretty good fight, but oh my gosh, Calvin Ridley week 1, smash week as we predicted. On the other hand, Christian Kirk, what happened to you? 1 catch for 9 yards on only 3 targets. But look, it was a Calvin Ridley week, and even Zay Jones got a little involved. It just wasn't a Christian Kirk week. This is what you get with Christian Kirk. Next week, he could go out there and catch 7 passes for 2 touchdowns and win you your week. Not worried about Christian Kirk. Better days are ahead. Kind of feels like Devonta Smith last year with A.J. Brown, doesn't it? Then there was Carolina versus Atlanta. And look, if there was any doubts about this Atlanta running game, that is gone. Tyler Algier and Bijan Robinson both smashed in this game, but they did it at the expense of Drake London and Kyle Pitts. Oh boy, this is panic time because they basically only threw to the running backs. Not what we wanted to see in week 1 here. Drake London, 1 target. They only threw the ball 18 times. Look, there are going to be games where they have to throw it more because they're not going to be playing a rookie quarterback at home where they can control the game. But this is not what we wanted to see from Drake London and Kyle Pitts in week 1. Certainly panic level high. Don't overreact, but be worried. And then on the Panthers side, Miles Sanders didn't put up the fantasy points you would have liked, but the usage was absolutely there. Got to like what you saw from Miles Sanders. Better days certainly ahead. Can't say the same for Adam Thielen. DJ Chark hurt, no real pass catchers, and he did nothing. You know why he did nothing? Because he's complete dust. Like I told you all offseason, please drop Adam Thielen. This guy doesn't need to be rostered or started. And then we got to move on to Houston versus Baltimore. Let's just start with a moment of silence for J.K. Dobbins. And then we had Lamar Jackson, another quarterback who got paid and decided to no-show in week 1. But come on, I'm not going to panic on Lamar Jackson. Rough start, sure, but you got to think he's going to be much better rest of the season. Don't panic on Lamar. On the Texans side, a rookie quarterback on the road against the Ravens. We expected them to struggle. Dameon Pierce couldn't get it going against this defense. No surprise. But I did like the fact that he had 3 targets, 2 catches. He was involved on third down. That's what we want to see. Better days are ahead for Dameon Pierce. Don't panic on him either. Oh, and definitely keep your eyes on Nico Collins. Then the last game of the early slates, Arizona versus Washington. Arizona's offense was predictably bad. You shouldn't be panicking on them. This is exactly what you should have expected. On the Washington side, Sam Howell wasn't the guy we really hoped for. I mean, yes, he ran in a touchdown to kind of save his day, but he had a couple bad turnovers, took some bad sacks. Hopefully, he can get better. And let me tell you, Curtis Samuel being the leading wide receiver for the Commanders in this game was not on my bingo card. This is likely the best matchup Washington is going to get all year at home against the Cardinals. I'm not ready to panic on Sam Howell and this offense yet, but I certainly did not like what I saw in week 1. And then on to Las Vegas versus Denver. Devontae Adams badly out-targeted and outperformed by Jacoby Myers here, but look, we're not going to expect this to be the normal thing, right? Not only did Jacoby Myers leave with a concussion late, but Devontae Adams got the Patrick Surtain treatment. He's going to be better. Don't panic on Devontae Adams, please. And better days are likely ahead for Josh Jacobs, who did not build off of his 2022 campaign, off to a rough start here against a great Denver defense. It doesn't get much easier the next 2 weeks versus the Bills and the Steelers, but then he gets the Chargers week 4, which is a smash spot. Don't give up on Josh Jacobs. He got the usage still. He'll be fine. And better days may be ahead for Javonte Williams, but man, you cannot be encouraged by what you saw. I mean, yes, he got 17 touches, but only 57 yards with those 17 touches. Pirine looked way better, way more explosive. Javonte looked indecisive. He wasn't cutting very well. His deceleration was awful, which is one of the big things from ACL. Maybe he'll get it going towards the end of the season, but right now, I think you have to be pretty worried about Javonte Williams in the near term. And then another ugly game today, Philly versus New England. We knew New England had an elite defense, but man, did they do a great job on Philly. But come on, Jalen Hurts, yeah, he didn't have a great week 1, but we're not panicking on Jalen Hurts, right? And same with Dallas Goedert. Yeah, he threw up the goose egg, which is never fun, but Dallas Goedert is still an elite tight end. This was a tough matchup. Better days are ahead for him and this entire Philly offense. But you should definitely be worried about DeAndre Swift. 1 carry and 2 targets on a day where Kenneth Gainwell played pretty much every snap, got all the work in this backfield. Even with Rashad Penny inactive, DeAndre Swift hardly used in this game. Does not look like he is anywhere close to the guy. Dare I say, DeAndre Swift is droppable. Rams versus Seahawks. The good, Cam Akers had 22 carries. The bad, he averaged 1.3 yards per carry on those 22 attempts, and Kyren Williams was heavily involved, even scoring 2 touchdowns. Akers did save his day with a touchdown to some degree, but you can't be encouraged by what you saw in this game against Seattle, in a game that the Rams won pretty comfortably. Definitely worried about Cam Akers. We'll see how it goes going forward. And I gotta be worried about Geno Smith. This was a great spot at home against this Rams defense. Just 112 yards and 1 touchdown in a brutal home loss to this Rams team without Cooper Kupp. You gotta wonder if the Geno Smith we saw last year was just a heater that he went on and now he's cooling off. Hopefully you didn't draft Geno Smith as your QB1. Then Chicago versus Green Bay. Look, Justin Fields didn't light it up with his arm again this week, but 59 rushing yards is good to see. And this is an underrated Packers defense on the road in Green Bay. He'll be better. Don't panic on Justin Fields yet. And don't panic on DJ Moore. Only 2 catches for 25 yards. Wasn't heavily targeted. But we talked about it. This Packers defense has a good secondary. They took away DJ Moore. It'll also get better for him. Don't panic yet. But you may want to panic on this backfield. Khalil Herbert did lead them with 9 carries, but Rashawn Johnson and D'Onta Foreman were also heavily involved with at least 5 carries each. Rashawn Johnson got the touchdown. Herbert somehow caught 3 passes, but you can't bank on that every week. This looks like another full-on committee, 3-headed committee, and it's not going to get any better especially as Rashawn Johnson gets better and gets more used to the NFL. So this backfield might be one to avoid. And then finally, we ended with Miami versus the LA Chargers. This was a fantasy goldmine, if only every game could be like this.